probably start by playing maybe. Here we go. Well, hello. Hope everyone's doing well. And I'd like to bring to you another little jazz progression that we're going to have some fun with. What key do you think that's in? Anyone want to take a guess? I want to try to tie everything together for everyone with a little bit of theory and a little bit on keys, because we get so many emails and requests about, keys and how do I know, and so, I try to keep laying that foundation, or laying those pavers in there, so you can just make it for an easy, nice staircase as you go to the next level, right? Okay, this particular progression, again, a very basic kind of progression, is actually in the key of D major, okay? So D major kind of really pulled Sound Like Home, In this instance, I actually started on the D major. Remember, many times in jazz, the first chord you play is often not the tonal center, or often not the key that it is. You have to really feel for what sounds like home. And we have another module on like a 2-5-1-6 progression, a very, very common building block in jazz, where a lot of times the one chord might be third, in the string. So it's not always first, but it does feel like home. See how like that last chord I hit, which is the A7, see how that resolves? Again, you have that sounds like home. What sounds like home? In this instance, to me, that D. Besides, I know my theory, so I know all these chords are constructed from the notes in a D major scale. Duh! So it's like, I cheated, so I knew that, so I knew without even hearing that. And we're going to be visit some of our lessons on what chords make up each key, because then you'll be able to know that way. And that's really cool, because then you'll start writing your own songs, because you'll be able to go right to the chords that are going to sound good together as a group, that are made from the notes in the major scale in that given key, or the minor key, or melodic minor, or harmonic minor, or whatever way you want to go, right? So let's play this progression. So the first chord I'm playing is a D major 7th. It's a 5th string root on the 5th fret, which is your D note. Remember those major 7 chords, sweet and dreamy sounding. Develop that ear. Second chord, I play a B minor 7th. 6th string root. It's amazing how many guitar players don't know this chord. And all you have to do, and it's so easy, everybody knows this chord. They'll play a B minor on the low E string root. 7th fret with your first finger, you're barring, and you're playing like a straight minor chord. Like everybody knows that. That's very dark. That's your typical minor chord. That's a B minor chord. To play a minor 7th, all you do is take the pinky off. Boop. That's it. Now you have this easy. Exactly. Now you have this nice sounding. I really like minor 7th chords. They're just very, very kind of. They're dark, but they have that because it's minor. But then they have that flat 7. So you have root, flat 3rd, 5th, flat 7. So and I like to slide them.
They're like sweet and sour.
I like that. Like sweet and sour. Yeah, I like that. And that's what gives it that really nice timbre to it. And I like to slide them. Like do a half-step slide into the minor 7s, like. Just sliding a chord around. Into the 4 chord. E minor 7. That wasn't the original progression I played, but I got a little off track, but just did a 1-4-5 with minor 7th chords. And it could sound really sweet. You know, just doing that with some accented chucks. Right? And then on that turnaround chord, I played one of my favorite chords to turn around, that E7, well actually it's an F sharp in this key, 7 sharp 9 chord. Which is what most people know as the Jimi Hendrix chord, because he had that song in Purple Haze. That chord, it's a 7 sharp 9, very trademark. That's the name of the chord too. I get a lot of questions about that because a lot of people call it like other names, like a sharp 9 chord.
Can you show them up close?
Yeah, I'll wheel up and show you these chords up close. The name of that chord theoretically comes from the fact that it's an altered chord. So when you start tinkering around with a 9 chord, you got to put when you start playing around with the 9th, in this case we're sharpening, you got to put the 7th back in the formula. So it's a 7 sharp 9 is the correct name for that chord. A lot of you probably know that chord, but I use it on turnarounds all the time. I always go to that chord for turnaround. I really like it, and I could use it in rock context and whatnot. So I'm gonna wheel in a minute, but minor 7th chords, really sweet. You should get to know them well. Visit our chord library. So I go from the D major 7th to that B minor 7th. And then drop down to the 5th string root bar chord, play an E minor 7th. And then the last chord is a dominant 7th, A7. A dominant 7th. That's a major family chord. Remember, 7th chords are not major 7th chords. Two entirely different chords. A major 7th chord has that sweet jazzy sound. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. Major family, major 7th. Whereas a dominant 7th chord or a 7th chord, or you see them all the time, A7, B7, that is a bluesy, kind of twangy sounding chord. See, that's not sweet. That is because of one note difference. Root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th. It has that flat 7th. That's your dominant note, that flatted 7th, okay? So, before I play the progression, I'll tell you what, I'll just show you these chords up close, so maybe you don't have to wheel into the library to see them. Here's your D major 7th, okay, played at the low E string. I'm sorry, you're going to mute the low E string, and you're going to play 5 strings. So if you're not familiar with this chord, let's see. It's kind of like if you know how to play a 7th chord, okay, like if this is a D7, just add your 2nd finger to the G string, okay? And now you have a major 7th because you're making that flatted 7th into a major 7th. Okay, so that's what that chord looks like. Root, there's a good shot at it there. I'm barring with my 1st finger, and notice how on all my 5th string root bar chords, my 1st finger spills over to mute the low E. That's very important because when I get into it, I'm strumming all the chords. It's very hard to miss that string, and I don't want it muddying up the chord. See, if I play, see how that low E string it just totally muddies up the chord. You gotta mute that. That's a must. And in this instance, it's very easy on all your 5th string root bar chords, unless of course you want to play the low bass note on certain chords. You're gonna mute it, but just do this. Just lift that 1st finger up enough to touch it, and it's muted. And now, see, you don't hear it. I'm hitting all 6 strings. You'll never hear it.
You don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about it. Exactly, it's muted. What you don't want to do is don't press down on that fret on the low E string, because then you'll fret that note, and you might not want that. I'm talking a light, just touch it, right? So it's just touching it. So there's that D major 7th. Now the B minor 7th chord. If you go to your 7th fret, and like I said, you play a B minor. Looks like this. Just getting my 2nd finger out of the way. Just take off your pinky. Now it takes a little strength to play this chord because you're barring everything and you're only using your 3rd finger to play one note, the 5th. Okay? That's a nice minor 7th chord. I love that chord. Make it a minor 9, add your pinky on the high E string. Hear that 9 up top? Love that chord. Making a minor 7 a minor 9 just by adding that 9th. See all these beautiful embellishments? You gotta know, that's why I'm such a strong believer in teaching my students lots of chords, but how to embellish them. That's what makes it interesting. I take a minor, make it a minor 7th, make it a minor 9. Soon we'll go for a minor 11. Then the next chord's E minor 7th, which you probably know. again, this is a 5th string root, 7th fret on the E string. If you don't know how to play it, you probably know an E minor bar chord, right? So if you know E minor, just take your pinky off, and there's your minor 7th. What could be easier than that? Minor, minor 7th. Again, you're flatting the 7th. Minor chord, root, flat 3rd, 5th, and now flat 7. And this same shape is the 7th chord shape on the low E string. See? I'm not even changing this voicing. I'm just moving everything up to the low E string, but moving it to A. So that's at the 5th fret. And now I'm playing this, the A7th chord, which is like an A major chord, right? On the, just take your pinky off and it becomes an A7th. You're flatting the 7th, root 3rd, 5th, flat 7th. So here's A major. Now here's A7. You hear that twang? That bluesy, twangy sound? That's the dominant 7th.
Hey Jude.
Yeah, it's in that
Hey
song, Hey
Jude.
Jude. Yeah,
Hey
think
Jude,
of that. Big movement to the A7th chord in that song. Good point. So, so if you want to play these together in a really nice progression, and this is going to be D major jazz, it'll probably say, we're going to have this, you can download this progression where it's just a constant loop of this with a guitar, rhythm guitar, drums, bass, playing it over and over again in a loop on a track, what we call jam tracks. You download that and you could practice playing the rhythm and then practice your lead playing over it. If you want to play lead over this, my God, we're going to learn tons of things to do over this, but if you just know like a couple major scales, just blast. This is in the key of D major. D major relates to all. You can play a D major scale over this and start getting used to moving around the different major scales. View my our module on major scales, and there's a lot more you can do than just play D major, and we're going to learn how to play modally over it, how to play over each chord instead of treating each chord like a separate event as opposed to just playing over the whole string, and that's what I do more. I like that sound, they give you a little more sophisticated a sound than just staying in the same thing. So here's a progression. If you want to try out a couple different strums, I'm using all downstrokes here just to get you in some different rhythms. 2 measures each real slow. I'll do it up here so you can see me strumming. So what I'm doing is what that's called is I'm accenting on the chucking, where I'm loosening up my grip on with my left hand or my fret hand, getting that percussive muting technique. If you don't know how to do that, you have to learn. That's a critical thing for guitars, and you can learn that in the strumming section of our website or in the beginner section. Just go to the modules on how to chuck with bar chords. And then there's also a way to chuck with open chords, and that's a must. It's one of the must-haves in your toolbox. You'll love it too. You'll be breaking it out all the time. So for this particular strum, again, we could do a myriad of strums, but I want to just give you some different ideas to get you started and make it your own. You know, I'm doing all downstrokes, but with those accents.